All right, good morning. It's Tuesday, and should be a great day today. The weather's going to be very nice around here for us, so we like that. And hope you had a great night last night. Tammy and I slid out of here and went and got some pizza and got a little cookie or at Continental Bakery in English Village. I love that area, and just had a great night just hanging out. And we've been all weekend. We were with people and all that. And as much as we love that, there's just that time where you just go, hey, it's just us, right? So you kind of get away and do your thing. And so that's what we did. And it was, it was good. It was a good time just to get away. She and I ride around, eat some food, chat about life. Life's good. Hope yours was. And so today, man, we are following on in the journey with Paul and Barnabas. And we're in Acts chapter 14, so we're halfway through the book, and we'll see how long it takes us to get there. This is our 38th lesson in the book so far. So but hey, if you think this was church, it would be 38 weeks that we would have been in the book of Acts. This way, doing it every day, we get a little break. And so anyway, we are. Let's just read into this text. I really today I want to think more about you and me as it relates to our role as we work through this section. So you remember back in chapter 13, it says that they were filled with the Holy Spirit and great joy, right? They incurred some more persecution, and so here's where they are. And so they leave the town to continue on the journey. They're heading a little north now, from where they were. They are in Turkey. That's kind of the area where it is. The region in where they are is Galatia. It's kind of a region, district, whatever you want to call it. And they've been bouncing around from city to city, just seeing what they could see and going where they could go. And so today they roll into Iconium, and it's a little city in the southwest area, excuse me, area of Turkey. And so there they are. So if you know where Turkey sits, it's kind of underneath a lot of the Eastern European countries. It's kind of a hinge to Asia, so it's called Asia Minor. That's where it is. That's where they are, and I think they're close to halfway through this first journey, but we'll see as it develops. So here's their normal routine. And as I was studying this, I was thinking, man, we can find a lot of really good principles here for you and me as well. So some of this, let's just read it, see it unfold, and then read it again and have some conversation really about how your role and my role. It says, now at Iconium, they entered together into the Jewish synagogue and spoke in such a way that a great number of Jews and Greeks believed. So they roll in, find the synagogue, which is their normal deal, right? Begin to speak. Do so, it says, in such a way that a lot of the Jews and a lot of the Greeks believe. So you've got these Jews and Gentiles, and they're believing together. But the unbelieving Jews, verse 2, stirred up the Gentiles and poisoned their minds against the brothers. Now, listen, it didn't really say anything about they went against the truth. They didn't say, well, hey, what you're speaking is not true. It was personal for them, right? The unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and poisoned their minds against the brothers. These are rabble-rousers. These are bad guys. They're taunting. They're saying evil things. They're not necessarily combating and confronting the truth, trying to dismantle it, because you can't. But so it's a personal attack. Always gets that way. Then it says, so they remained there for a long time, speaking boldly for the Lord, who bore witness to the word of his grace, granting signs and wonders to be done by their hands. But the people of the city were divided. Some sided with the Jews and some with the apostles. When an attempt was made by both Gentiles and Jews with their rulers to mistreat them and to stone them, they learned of it and fled to Lystra and Derbe, cities of Lycaonia, and to the surrounding country. And there they continued to preach the gospel. Now, we could go further, but there's some stuff next that we'll look at next week that's just going to take a lot. Tomorrow it'll take a little more time to unfold. It's kind of a crazy story, and so we'll let that one all stand all by itself. So today I just wanted to focus on this little deal and talk about the role that all of us play. Right? You remember Matthew 28, right? The Great Commission. Go therefore into all the world, make disciples, right? This is the call, and it's the call of you and me. And I want to see how we can take what they're doing here, because this seems like, oh man, these are superheroes and those are apostles, and man, look at them go. But we're not that. Well, but the role is the same. And so I kind of want us to see that. So they have a goal that Jesus gave to all of us, right? Go. Literally, it doesn't mean that you and I have to leave our town, right? To be a missionary doesn't mean I have to go overseas or have to go really anywhere. The text actually says, when Jesus speaks of it, says, while going, right? As you go. So there is this fact that as you and I go about life, there should be a mission, a purpose behind what we do. It's a part of the good works that Jesus has called you and me to walk in. And part of the good works is to be holy. So I should be putting off the old man, putting on the new. And with holiness comes a series of fruits. That means I'm going to be loving and joyful and peaceful and patient. I'm going to be generous. These are the things that will emanate from me. And so while going, doing, and as I'm doing those things, the good works, those are the good works the Lord called me to walk in. A piece of that is sharing the good news. We seem to diminish that a lot, the context and concept of evangelism. That simply means to bring a good message to people, the truth. You and me have a responsibility when we see someone who is not a believer to share with them what it means to be a believer. And we can't skirt that issue. We can't say, well, that's for the apostles, or that's for pastors, or that's for, gifted people in that area. No, it's for us, right? And so the statement is go, right? Make disciples. You think, well, man, I can't do that. Really? Well, why not? Why can you not make it? What does it mean to be a disciple? It literally means a learner. You learn someone. I know that's poor grammar, but it's great theology. You learn someone, right? So you know truth, solid truth, about what Jesus called you to do, and you simply teach people to do that. That's what it means to make a disciple, to make someone a follower of Jesus. So you launch them. You speak into their life truth. You see that it's solidifying in their life, and you have made a disciple. Now, to make one means that you that they have been converted from unbelief to belief, right? So your teaching is lined up in such a way so that they see a series of truths and go, well, I believe those. I believe that Jesus is the Messiah. I believe that he was God in the flesh who dwelt among us. I believe he died for my sins. I believe he was resurrected to have new life so that I could have new life. And so I repent of my old way of living, and I come to faith in him, and I invite him to be Lord of my life. That's the gospel in a practical, simplified message. So that's a piece of what people need to understand. There's a separation between them and God. So you say those things. And in the process of that, they come to Christ. You see them get baptized, right? It says baptizing them. Well, you could do that. There's nothing that says anyone, the pastor has to baptize. Anybody could baptize. And mostly it's done within the confines of the gathering of the believers, but it could be anywhere. So you see them baptized, and you begin to teach them to do all the things that Jesus commanded. So there's a need for you to know the word, which you're learning here sitting with us, right? So that is your task and my task. Now, let's see it unfold here, because I think it's going to be helpful for us to do that. So what do we see the first thing they did? If that's their goal, what's the first thing we see that they did? Well, they went where people were. And they've been doing that the whole time, right? Now at Iconium, they entered together into a Jewish synagogue and spoke in such a way that a great number of both Jews and Greeks believed. So what did? They went where people were, right? So they went where people were gathered. Well, don't you, right? I mean, most of you have a job of some sort, and you're in a group, and those people become those that you're going to speak to, right? I do that at work at Tracery Stone. I've got a group of people. I have an opportunity to speak in front of the whole company once a week, and then I speak to the managers twice a week. That's a group. But then individually, I'm I'm all over the place in the company, making sure everything's working right and flowing right. And so I'm checking on these guys, and I'm going out to the yard, and then I'm going into the warehouse, and then I'm going into the drafting area, and I'm going upstairs into the labor side of things, and so I'm just all over the place. And so that's where I am. Where are you, right? For some of you, it may be that you go to the gym, right? And so at the gym, there are people there, right? And you engage in chit chat and conversation. It's everywhere. You can hardly go somewhere where you're not involved in some sort of a group. If it's mom to mom, if it's just going to school, sitting with others at a ball game, all of those things are places. And so this is what's going on. So they went where people gathered. And they were intentional about it, really. And so you see what happened. Now, it said that they spoke. And I love the fact that he says this. They spoke in such a way. That's not the word teach, not the word preach, because we think, oh man, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher. Yeah, but do you have a mouth? Sure. Do you ever use it? Yes. So that's all we're saying. You have a mouth, use it. Instead of using it for idle chit chat, use it for when an opportunity arises, you can talk about Jesus, right? This is what should happen. And so I'm not making much of this. I just think we should understand it's not a difficult assignment that the Lord has given to us. It's just we have to be intentional with it. And so they spoke, right? And they spoke in such a way, right? In other words, they didn't just kind of dance around the gospel. They went straight for it. Hey, man, we're all struggling in life here. Here's what I've found. I've found that my life in Christ and pursuing Him has allowed me to get rid of the stuff in my life that doesn't need to be there and to pursue the things that He commands, because His commands are always righteous and true, even though the world doesn't make sense to them. And as for me, when I do that, I know I'm a better man. And that's kind of a conversation. In fact, that's a conversation I have a lot of times with people. And I will say it almost just like I did with you just then. But they spoke. And then what happened? Well, a great number of people responded. That's a good thing. That doesn't always happen, right? But here it says a great number of both Jews and Greeks believed. Man, that's the power of the gospel. You never know. You just never know who's going to believe, right? So you just share it with everybody. We're not looking to save the world, so to speak. We're looking to present the message in such a way that it is attractive, and we trust that God will bring out of the world those who are His. That there's not a lot of pressure on us. Our pressure is simply to be bold in sharing the message, not in trying to win somebody, right? It's not my eloquent speech that will do that. It is the Spirit of the living God that does that. I'm simply the messenger. And so you and me can do this thing. And so now, it's, in fact, I think in some ways it's a little harder for us than it is for them, because we have what I call inoculated Christians. I use that term, inoculated. I like it. It really means vaccinated. You know, when you get a vaccination, I mean a real vaccination, where you get a little dose of the illness, so to speak, and then your body creates an immune system, and then you'll never have to worry about getting that disease. That's a true vaccine, not what kind of gets passed around these days. But that vaccine, when it does its thing, keeps you from getting the disease. Now, I'm not trying to say the gospel is a disease, but what I'm saying is, in America today, we have given people just not enough to truly become a Christ follower, but enough to make them feel so. So they checked a card, or they repeated some prayer, and now they think they're believers, and then they get involved in a church, and so they think, well, because I'm part of church, and now I'm a Christian, then they never come to the saving knowledge of Christ, because they've been inoculated, right? They have just enough. So it's hard. Sometimes we have to convince people they're not saved in order to see that they can find Christ. I'm not trying to complicate the matter. I'm just telling you what you run into. Everybody in the South, right? Hey, I don't know Jesus. Yeah, I know Jesus. Yeah, I got a church. They don't go to church, but they have a church, right? And that's kind of the way it is. Now, you're meeting more and more these days. We live in a kind of a post-Christian society, but still the lingering effects of that goes on. So here's what happens in verse 2. But the unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and poisoned their minds against the brothers, right? So what do we see here? Well, opposition is always going to be in the mix. Anytime you're going to have a conversation with someone, right? I mean, it's comical almost. You sit down and you're starting to have a conversation, and then their phone's going to go off, or the kid's going to run in the room, or some distraction over here is going to happen, or another friend is going to walk in, and all of it's like there's 1,000 distractions. You could be talking about the most mundane thing, and there's no distractions. But the minute you begin to talk about your life and the difference Christ has made, it's like all hell is unleashed and every distraction imaginable comes. You should expect that. I mean, that's what happens with them almost every time. So they've got these unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and poisoned their minds against the brothers. Now, again, notice they didn't try to put down the truth because they couldn't. They just tried to assault the character of the people giving the message. You should expect that. People will say unkind things about you when you start proclaiming Jesus in the marketplace. When you just, wherever you go, you just start talking. There will be people who will try to put you down as subtly or as covertly or overtly as possible, sometimes just in your face. They want to shut you up. They don't even know what they're doing. They're just tools of Satan, but that's what happens. And so we should expect that. Just, okay, that's fine. Let it roll off, right? Trust that the Lord will witness. Look what happens. So they remained for a long time, right? So what do they do next? They long hauled it. They're like, hey, all right, I feel the opposition. You know what I'm going to do? I'm hunkering down, right? I'm here for the long haul. I'm going to keep sharing the truth with this individual that God's given to me, as long as necessary, right? And so that's what they did. You just continue to speak boldly in the favor of the Lord, right? Just assuming the Lord wants you to do what you're doing, and so you just keep doing it. And then it says this, so they remained for a long time, speaking boldly for the Lord, who did what? Who bore witness to the word of his grace, granting signs and wonders to be done by their hands. Now, we don't always see signs and wonders like it seems like you do in the book of Acts. And some would say, well, that's because the gifts that was for the apostles, and some will say, well, for other reasons. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I see a case for both that. I'm a well-studied individual, and I can see where you could argue both ways. I think the Lord has left it vague because he's going to do his thing, and we should just shut up. And if it happens, it happens, right? But here's what I have found. That it's funny that trust that the Lord will witness kind of to your words in a supernatural way. We had something come up just recently in our church. It was kind of cool. We have this lady's been coming for a while, and so I was teaching on finances and just the concept of what biblical generosity looks like, and we just talked about giving. And anyway, this individual gave because of that message, kind of, and the encouragement of her friend that brought her. She wrote a check and gave it. Well, it was like not even a day later, she was doing something, and someone saw her doing kind of a good deed, so to speak, serving some other people, and so they say, hey, I want to give you some money, and she's like, well, I don't really. Anyway, she realized that what she gave initially, she got back a lot more than what she gave. Now, does that always happen? Well, the word says, given it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken, and running over. Do I always see it as immediately as possible? And is it always in money? Sometimes we give money and we receive other blessings in return, but this is what was happening to her. And she just, Sunday, she's sharing about what took place and the power of that. Now, what do we look at that? What is that? To me, that's exactly what happened here. The Lord witnessed the words of grace, right? The Lord witnessed to her that, hey, I mean what I say. You give and it'll be given to you. And he granting signs and wonders to be done by their hands, right? And so that's what happened. God did it supernaturally. Now it says granting signs and wonders. That word granting really can imply the fact that you may or may not always, it may not. It's like up to God's choosing. Now, we're not even going to finish this. Verse 4, it says, But the people of the city were divided. Some sided with the Jews and some with the apostles. When an attempt was made by both Gentiles and Jews with rulers to mistreat them and stone them, they learned of it and fled to Lystra, Derbe, cities of Laconia and the surrounding country, and they continue to preach the gospel. Listen, the gospel divides. It always divides. It is a philosophy and truth that goes against the flesh. You just expect it, right? So we kind of looked at that. Opposition may get difficult and angry, right? You decide to be long haul, man, it can get uglier. And it can get really, I've seen it in my life personally get really ugly. So what do? Well, you move on. That's what they did. They moved on, right? You share the gospel, you watch what God does, and then you move on, right? And so you've got another area or another person God leads you to speak truth to. So anyway, those are some kind of thoughts, reflective thoughts that come out of that from a devotional perspective. Love you guys. Can't wait to continue sharing with you this journey of Paul and Barnabas. And Lord willing, I'll see you in the morning.